Hello, internet friends. I'm about to get into my video discussion about Module 3, and we're talking about chapters 3 and 4. So I'm going to get right into the questions. Examine the various strategies to combat a hostile environment. Um, so fundamentally, in a professional environment, this is about de-escalation. You are not interested in uh, pushing people's buttons to get them to respond emotionally. Instead, you want to keep your composure and try to get a positive response, try to influence someone either to your side or to defend yourself in an honorable way. So in section 3.2, we talk about the different strategies you can use. Primarily, you want to steer away from escalation, steer away from accusation. So you want to avoid saying things pointed at you, like you need to change your attitude. Instead, you need to reframe it so that you put it from your perspective, like, I see that you're having a problem with our rules, or I feel like you're not pulling your own weight, that sort of thing. So instead of pointing at someone, you want to give a little abstraction to that. In 3.2.2, it's solving a problem rather than controlling others. You want to pull together your team and individuals to help you out instead of trying to force them, manipulate them, to control them into doing what you want them to do. And you want to be genuine instead of manipulative. If there is any way you can manage it, try to say something from the heart instead of saying things that are going to twist or push their buttons. And emphasize being flexible empathize instead of being rigid. You want to be flexible or open-minded instead of stubborn. That's hard to do in a workplace when you want to maintain control. You got to have this sort of aura that you're open to suggestion or willing to hear both sides or willing to try a different approach. But ultimately, you want someone to go along with your idea, and you can't do that by telling them or forcing them. Probably the lowest thing you can do is just to pull rank, and that is probably pretty common. Just to say, who's calling shots here, who put you in charge, that sort of thing. You generally want to, again, get people's respect instead of telling them what to do. That doesn't work very well when you just say, well, I've been here longest, or my title is supervisor and yours is not supervisor. That does not really fly very well. Okay, and claiming that you're awesome, better, more qualified also doesn't help, because you're not gaining someone's alliance or trust, or you're not really convincing them of anything. Instead, you're distancing or getting them to pull away or become less of an ally. All right. Discuss how nonverbal messages cross cultural boundaries, etc. This is an interesting topic. We'd like to think that there's a universal way that we communicate, whether that's through eye contact, through hand gestures, through squaring off and facing them directly, nodding that you agree with what they're saying, or hand signals, these sort of things. These are things we take for granted in our own culture, but there may be some situations that I can't imagine right now where you go somewhere else and the things you do mean entirely different. For example, direct eye contact, I can imagine, may be seen as pulling rank or being offensive or questioning someone's authority. There could be some situation where you think that you're paying attention, showing your interest. Instead, the other person perceives it in a different way, entirely based on their cultural background or their own perception, their own different background. So 3.3 covers about culture, about how nonverbal messages may work in one culture but not another. One thing that can be universal is your level of engagement. It's tricky how to actually convey that, but just being present, showing that you're paying attention, showing that you're listening, they're pretty safe bets. They're not going to come across as offensive. Even if you're looking at the ground, not making eye contact, that may be accepted in some cultures. The fact that you're not distracted or bored or sighing, rolling your eyes, that's a pretty clear indicator that you're engaged and you're paying attention. Basically, seek to understand these cultural norms and expectations in advance. In some cases, let's say you are hired as a contractor to work in some other region of the world. Ideally, you're going to get some cultural training. You're going to get some sensitivity. You're going to get some clues, some signals to watch out for. And so just prepare in advance for that. Discuss the various categories of gestures that are important for direct verbal translation. All right, we discussed that in section 3.4.3 about gestures. These are traffic signals in a conversation you're holding that give you the green light to go, slow down, stop. And so the three terms that they mentioned were emblems, which are direct verbal translations. An example they give in the book is the open palm, like talk to the hand, I'm not done yet, or I'm on the phone, I'm in the middle of a conversation, or shut up and leave me alone. That's a pretty universal sign that you need to stop whatever you're about to do. Okay. The next one is illustrators, which can help clarify or intensify the meaning. So the book describes it as drawing directions in the air. I imagine that's like if you're trying to tell someone directions on how to go, you say, you go straight down the street and then you turn left, these sort of things. You're helping orient the person, but also you're enhancing what you're saying verbally. I'd like to point out in the textbook there's a picture of some guys playing baseball at the home plate, and I recognize this scene immediately. That's from a place that I used to live in Utah. That's Utah Valley University, and that's where there's a minor league baseball team, the Orem Owls, that play. So I just wanted to make a shout out there. All right, next is regulators, non-verbal cue that controls interaction. While someone else is speaking, you may actually want to interject. You might want to give a little signal that, hey, wait a second, I have a question, or they talked about raised eyebrow, like, I'm not done talking, you shut up. You're not saying shut up, but with your raised eyebrow or giving a little wink in that direction, you're kind of signaling that you're giving a traffic signal about what's going on. All right, so now we're going to move into chapter 4. The question was, according to our authors, what skills should people develop so they can become effective listeners? Again, the bottom line is be engaged. You are there listening. There are some pretty universal things to show you're not listening. Like I said, rolling your eyes, side, looking at your cell phone, looking around. Okay, so there are specific things that show that you're not connected and things you can do. So there's a disconnect between wanting to say something and our capacity to listen. Often when we're listening to someone, they're saying things that are not interesting to us or things that we don't understand. And so we have a real difficulty of focusing in on what they're saying. So if you listen to them you're unable to follow it, you may send signals that show that you don't understand. So it's important to engage with them, send them nonverbal signals about what's going on in your mind, and trying to lead them back, get signals to help understand. So if you get bored, that means what they're saying is obvious, or they're saying it in a way that's slow, or you're already ahead of them into the next thought. The book says that you can take advantage of this time to mentally summarize in your head about what they're saying. You can try to piece together what it means, what they're talking about, and try to organize in your brain so that it's clear to you how to make sense of that and how you want to respond. And also use non-verbal regulatory cues. So I guess to put it politely is, if it's obvious what they're saying, you can make some hand signals like, well, duh, or probably not. Or you can give a little signal like, what are you getting at? Can you speed this up? There's this hand signal that says, okay, let's get to the chase. Cut to the chase. All right. If they're telling you things and they're way too verbose, too much information, more than you're prepared to process, the advice is to just listen and filter it out. They may be saying a lot, but just accept that you've got this waterfall of information coming to you, and you're just going to catch the little bits that are relevant to what you need to understand. If you're nervous about getting it wrong, misinterpreting, hearing what they're saying, politely ask for little cues for clarity. Is this what you mean? Do I understand you right? Or you could just outright ask them, so hey, do you have the slides available online that I can look at later? Or do you have the summary of this? Or could you send me an email to hit the key points of what you just told me, just so I'm sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so another mistake, problem, skill we need to acquire is learning not to multitask, because someone gave us the idea that we can do many things all at once when we're listening to someone, and that's not true. Some people think you can look at your phone, listen to music in, one headphone in your ear. You can watch TV, read email, all these things that you're doing at the same time that you're listening are really causing you to be an ineffective listener. You're missing out on a vast majority of the signals that are being sent to you, especially the nonverbal things, especially if you need to be looking at them, you're going to miss those. Or the subtle, like emotional, relational cues that are being sent, you're definitely going to miss out on that. And those are probably the keys to the real messages being sent. Okay, silly, but if you're a morning person, like if you're just groggy in the morning, or if you get sleepy after 7 p.m. and you have a meeting, then arrange for the meeting to not be at a conflicting schedule, or just let people know, hey, I'm really not a morning person and I haven't had my coffee yet, so I'm basically not here yet. All right, and distractions, we've covered that plenty. If there are distractions, please be considerate and remove those distractions. If they're the ones that you are harboring yourself, your cell phone, email, put them down. If there's noise and it's an important discussion, you'd better get up, walk outside where it's a neutral environment, no distractions. Common sense, I hope. All right, explain the prevalence of competing messages at the workplace. Section 4.2 is about turning off competing messages. I've gone into this quite a bit already, it seems like. And so, as the book says, if you're serious about listening, if you actually are going to engage with a person, get all these cues that I mentioned before, nonverbal, emotional, relational, empathizing, you're going to miss all of those if you've got competing distractions So some other skills or factors in this are social decentering, which is shifting the center of the universe away from yourself. I know right now I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking, do I look okay in this video? But really I should be focusing on how does my phone feel about, capturing video of me? Is it enjoying the conversation? Is there anything that it's telling me like I probably need to wind down because I've already gone 15 and a half minutes? All right, prepare physically for listening. And so it mentions the acronym SOLER, which is basically you're going to do a sumo stance with this person. You're going to square up with them. You're going to line up with them. You're going to be leaning in. You're ready to reach out and pick them up and throw them. No, probably not. But basically, you're really focused on the listening portion. Set the scene away from distractions and turn off your phone. Prepare. I like this one actually. Prepare so that you arrive early to a meeting. A lot of people will show up late to a meeting and they're on their heels. They're way off balance. They can't focus because all of a sudden they have to transition from thinking about some other flustering distractions and then get into the sense of what's being communicated at a meeting. It's really important to show up early so you can slow down, reset yourself, set your focus in a new direction. Okay, and I like in the textbook, by the way, there's this picture of a guy sitting in his living room. He's looking at his laptop, looking at his phone. He's got the TV going, and who knows if he's watching something happening at the window outside. He's got a whole bunch of distractions going on when he probably needs to focus on one of those tasks. I'm not sure which of those is most important. Probably none of them. Don't know. All right. And now, discuss various strategies explained in the text that help people learn about major ideas and details. Okay, key point is major ideas and details. And section 4.4 covers listening for major ideas and details. I've heard of this before in another context where I've learned foreign languages. They say you're either a global learner or an analytical learner. That means when you hear someone talking a foreign language, you need to, based on your learning style, you learn by getting the big picture, the global picture. You just hear it, and you hear it enough times that you just internalize it. You don't need to know the rules. The rules are a distraction. But the converse of that is if you're an analytical learner, you really struggle with figuring out what's going on when someone's speaking to you in a foreign language. You need to know the rules, like why did the person say this word in that order? And so it's kind of the same with the way that we listen to people. And we should point out when we're talking about global and analytical, that applies to whole part versus part whole. Whole part meaning you're getting the big picture, you're getting the relational, let's say, you're getting the feeling, you're getting the empathizing. But if you're part whole, that means you're listening for the details, the crucial factors that are needed to pinpoint the source, the function, the solution. And so when you're dealing with someone and you're not sure about how to focus on the macro level, the big picture, then use some pre-questions such as, how are they feeling? What do they need? Why do they need it? Also, when you're focusing on the micro level, let's say, the details, I think again you're gonna filter out things that are not relevant to the details. You're gonna focus on what's the theme, what's the pattern that we need to follow, and what are the key words, the technical terms that you need to watch out for, and clues. I like to relate this to when you're in IT. Pretty commonly, you're going to be in a help desk situation where you're on the phone taking phone calls. People call in with problems, and this is actually pretty challenging because you need to be aware of both factors. You need to be aware of the relational, big picture, feeling, empathy sort of side of the conversation, that level. and then the technical details. And I mean, usually when they call, the first step is to de-escalate. Like if they're really upset about something, impatient, frustrated, you need to just listen to them, acknowledge that you hear them, that they are frustrated for a good reason, that they are validated in, you know, their anger, whatever. Let them get past that and then start listening for the technical details to solve the problem. It's important to get a balance of both, discern which level you're still operating in, and once you got that balance, then you'll have them on your side. You can start to get the details and get them through the problem. All right, thanks everyone for listening to this long video. Really sorry about the length. There were a lot of questions, so sue me. Look forward to you in the comments. Bye-bye.